On this episode of the Esports Meta,
Windows Phone and the Zune both fail. Both of those items were amazing devices.
League of Legends first stand scores, and my theory is that it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, some of that shit is cap, like straight up.
Hello, welcome to the Esports Meta, your place for video game news, highlights, and competition. I'm Billy Sims, about to bring you a week full of interesting facts, news, and tidbits that we thought were just great for video games this week. Today, we've got Scopely inking a deal for Pokemon Go. They've got that money, and they made it happen. Also, Race the World First had a false start. We'll be talking about that, and maybe talking about it again, because it happened twice. Nick's got some more information coming up, and then Shroud makes good on his promise. Bit of a feel-good story and a little bit of what we like to see, and we'll get into all those details in just a second. But to do that, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Glad you're watching if you are. This is an esports podcast that talks about video games and news and competition through the week, and we're gamers just like you. So if you're enjoying what you watch and you see, chime in. Hit us up in the chat. Hit us up on social media. Everywhere that you are at the Esports Meta. We're also streaming live on Twitch and YouTube every Monday night. It's a Friday at 9 p.m. A little bit of a late pivot this week, but we're streaming every week for the podcast live, and you could be a part of that discussion. We'd love to hear from you and be a part of all these different topics. Get your take, because we're not the only gamers out there. We might be right, but we might not be the only ones. Anyway, to get this conversation started, I got to get my better half, the person who is always right and never wrong, Mr. Nicholas Layton, my co-host with the most. How you doing this week, Nick?
I'm doing pretty great. Pretty great. Pretty fantastic. Awesome. I've been playing some good games lately. Haven't been, the same usual games that I always play. It's not like nothing new. But
faithfuls.
No, just watching some tournaments. Like right now is a pretty good time for like esports. Some good tournaments. World's First, Last Stand. Even I'm even watching like Summoner's War tournaments, PvP tournaments, turn-based battles. Man, it's pretty good.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I realized last week. You're right. There's a really good time for esports and just watching, and it's going to kind of ramp up a little bit more as we go into spring, summer as well. But I kind of realized too that I think that the Race the World First is hands down the best esports out there. Personal opinion, maybe you agree, but this moment, having this race happen and that esport going along with a couple of the other ones have definitely really felt good. And I think it's the addition of Race the World First that's put it over the edge for me, like made as best moment, good moment.
Hey man, no one's ducking your young man, but like you're allowed to be wrong. It's all good. It's all good.
No, there's no being wrong here, Nick. Absolutely not. The internet's gonna make fun of us.
Yeah, they make fun of me all the time. It's all good. Like I got bad opinions at the Waz, bro.
I don't know, man, but you look so dapper, especially with that new fresh haircut, the clean trim on the beard.
Yeah, I look almost close to my age. It's pretty sick.
You definitely have Anderson Cooper zaddy vibes going on.
Thanks. That's not uncomfortable. But anyway, it's still like
let me just trap you in a podcast for 2 hours now after that comment. So it's been a week of games. You've been playing your old faithfuls, your normals, or?
Yeah, no, I've been playing my old faithfuls, just shut my camera off for fun. League, and I recently started up WoW again. I don't know if I said that last week. Started up leveling some WoW just because a friend wanted me to do it. But other than that, yeah, I'm just playing Magic, playing League. Big stuff coming. Big stuff coming for Magic in a couple weeks. We'll be covering the ban list and the expectations for some deck building and stuff. Pick rates, ban rates, etc. That way. I don't think those are the terms, but you know what I mean. So, but with Nick, what are you leveling up in WoW? What are you playing there? Still Hunter Tree or Priest? No, I haven't played Priest and Hunter for I don't know, maybe many moons, man. So many expansions. I'm leveling up a Paladin. I have a max level Rogue. I won't even dare say the name on air because even I think my name should be reported. But hey, it made it through.
Your secret's safe with me, bro.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Female orc rogue, let's get it. But then I also have like a human paladin that I'm leveling up now to play with my buddy. So should be fun.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic because I actually just leveled up a hunter for the new patch, marksman. They changed it a lot and kind of stuck to this the hero fantasy that I enjoy with it, the petless hunter one that's worked and not worked at different points. But yeah, kind of a good time, having a lot of fun doing some delves and some mythics with that one. I jumped back into Helldivers this week. I don't know if you noticed, but it's 2024. I'm playing Helldivers, and esports is definitely doing okay.
I still have not played Helldivers. Like, you're not getting me, man. Not getting me.
Wasn't trying to, man. I know it's a game that's not for everybody, but I've been popping some 10s after being on break for like a year. And like going back, it's a lot of fun again.
Yeah, no, it's one of those games that's definitely pretty good.
Yeah, and I enjoyed that. Had like a nice cultural moment, and it's kind of mellowed out, but like they're kind of still maintaining that fun. We'd love to see that happen with some of these other esports, some of these other games that just like disappear. And we have Fragpunk coming out a little bit more, pushing for a beta, so we'll see how that develops in an esport. We're still waiting on North American esports for Marvel Rivals. It's been a couple months. They've had EMEA and Asian APAC region tournaments already for Invitational. We haven't seen anything for North America, South America though, just yet. So like, I do enjoy that they actually are taking the time with their game and coming back and like actually, you know, so many other developers just kind of set it, forget it, and squeeze that money from that stone.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. It feels like I always felt like Helldivers 2 was not more, but kind of like Risk of Rain. Like the developers themselves, like, yeah, hey, we're just gonna keep adding on to this. It's a pretty cool game. If you like it, buy it, play it. If you don't, then like, you know, kick bricks. Like, it's all good. Go play something else. Like, no one's forcing you.
Yeah, Risk of Rain is such a great roguelike game as well. It's so much fun and so chaotic, especially Risk of Rain 2 for that. And I could see where you're coming from, that like that aspect of that, like just building fun chaos through that means of cooperative PvE. Yeah, definitely a cool moment of that game and development. And I love seeing the developers kind of keep adding the fun, like you're saying, like Risk of Rain has. I want to see that more for some of these other ones, but you know, we'll get to that. In fact, Nick, if you're ready, let's get to some of these stories for today. Yeah,
let's do it, I guess.
All right. I'd like to start with a bit of this is like a 3-part story, and it involves Shroud. Recently, Shroud announced a few different things. About a month and a half ago, the beginning of January, he started his fragathon, where in honor of his father passing, held a charity for every frag he got playing games for a month. He would donate to St. Jude's in honor of his father. The charity was an absolute success. The Fragathon was an absolute success overall. And it created a great narrative for Shroud, continuing his lore, but it also created this great moment and continuation for. And one of the moments that happened during the Fragathon, Shroud was explaining why it's harder to be a pro in esports. Let me bring this up right now. There we go. Get this sized. There. All right. So here's an article from Dexero kind of summarizing it, but more or less he was comparing something like we've done, comparing being an esports professional to getting into basketball professional or not. Shroud argued that competing in esports is more challenging than playing professional basketball because athletes have unbelievable physical gifts, while video games can be more accessible to anybody. On top of which, he never reached the heights, but he's kind of then saying that the treachery, not the treachery, I don't want to make it like somebody's out to get somebody, but like the hurdles, the boss battles you have to figuratively do in these esports are a lot more grand, a lot more shaky, especially with how new esports are. And Shroud kind of talks about this, and I want to play the clip real quick here. Make sure we're not blowing out eardrums. But
is it harder to be a pro in esports or a pro basketball player?
Well, that's not fair.
Why?
Because to be a pro basketball player, you got to be genetically built.
Yeah, let's just say you are.
Oh, then definitely pro in the game.
It's harder, right?
I think so. Half of the game, half of a sport is just being built, you know, for the sport.
Right.
So you have the
half of it's just like half of it's spawn based.
Yeah, it's literally, yeah, exactly. It's spawn based. You spawn in, and if you have the right builds, you can natty be good at it. But in a video game, you have to earn it every single time. And not only that, like in a video game, the meta's constantly changing. In a sport, it's just the same for fucking hundreds of years. Like, how boring.
It's like the same thing. It's like kind of like Counter-Strike in a sense. It's just like put the ball in the hoop.
That's it.
Yeah. That's fair take.
All right, so there it is, Nick. You know, that's kind of that in a nutshell, and it's a lot more simple of like an argument or a discussion, perhaps. But you know, I felt like this was a good first point to kind of bring up. Like, do you agree with him in this esports and kind of the challenging? It's more difficult to do be esports, or is it more difficult to do like something like basketball or professional sports?
Like, in what aspect?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the point he's making here. If it's a physical aspect, it's definitely harder in esports because like the people who go professional in sports already have the talent, they already have the builds. There's very few people that, you know, have to do that work harder, kind of like the Muggsy Bogues of basketball that are like
I was
4 feet
immediately
tall.
thinking that. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, some of that shit is cap, like straight up, like,
yeah.
And like the problem is that there's not restrictions on video games, and I don't mean like the video games themselves. I mean like you interacting with the video game. There's no fucking restriction, so it's like real stupid to even compare the two things. Like personally, like no disrespect to Shroud, but like there is physical and mental exhaustion, right? Both of those can happen when you're playing basketball.
Yeah,
that both of those cannot happen if you're playing esports. Like truthfully, like you could be exhausted from being awake, but your body's not physically fucking exhausted and beat the shit. Like that's kind of like really. That's why it's different. So like there's physical and mental limits that exist in basketball. And sure, the mental exhaustion could be different for esports and stuff like that, but they're different. Like how much you can do in the game, how much you can practice in esports is a lot more than how much you can functionally practice a team sport like basketball. Like sure, you can go out, you can shoot a basket. Congratulations. I can go into League of Legends and practice tool. I can practice the insect 1,000 times a day. Cool. I got that one thing down. Does it make me a good League of Legends pro? Fuck no. That's clown shit. Like, does it make me a good basketball player if I can make free throws all the time? Fuck no. How many people can't shoot free throws for fuck's sake in the basketball? Like, that's crazy. Like, how many people have terrible talent? No, it's real cap because like people like Rodney Mullen. I mean, not Rodney Mullen. Jesus Christ, he's a skateboarder. Jesus Christ.
Different sport.
My God, man. I'm not even going to be able to think of his name now because I said Rod Mellon. Holy shit. Kim Jong-un, help me. I'll phone a friend.
Are we talking about like Dennis Rodman? What are we talking like?
Dude, so Dennis Rodman's fucking trash, dude, but he's like he's an idiot savant who developed his own way to play basketball in order to get rebounds. That's it. He was counting like rotations on basketballs. He's not the most physically fit dude out there. He's just hurting himself the whole entire time.
But he is a big He is a big dude.
Good. He is not good. He is not physically talented in basketball. Otherwise, he would have been a basketball player before he got scooped from a gutter. Like, it's real weird.
That's an interesting point with it though, because like you basically said he played a counter meta in the meta, and then it thrived within that meta. He wasn't good enough. Yeah, he played his game. It's like that's a counter meta, and it worked. It wasn't a cheese comp. Maybe it was a cheese comp.
It was like first off, all he had to do was rebound.
A cheese comp.
Remember, all he had to do was rebound. He was brought there to rebound. He wasn't brought there because he's the fastest dude. He's not brought there because he shoots the best baskets. He's not good on the team. He's not even a good team player in general. So but he was still brought onto the team to fucking win for a specific purpose. He is literally, hey, look at that guy. I need a tall guy. I need a guy who's 1 foot taller than everybody else on the team just so that he can slap the ball away from all the good players. I picked that guy.
But like, how is that different than like, but you're saying everybody has like a position and a role. How is that different than somebody being a mid laner or a bot or a support, right? Like if I'm really good at support, you don't really want me in mid because I'm trash. So like,
no, I think that's a fundamental dishonest. Like, if you know how to play League of Legends, you should know how to play every single role. And I think Tyler 1 is a perfect example of this. He literally got challenger in every single one of his roles. And you say like, oh, Tyler 1 should just be shit in top lane because he's just an ADC. Like, that's cap. You play the fucking game. Like, I'm not saying you should be able to play the best role. Like, you shouldn't be the best point guard if you're actually not a point guard, right? Like that's not really what I'm saying. But I'm saying like you should be able to play at like a top level in general.
Yeah, maybe, but like again, still, it's, you know, definitely know the roles. Getting real hyped on this one. You should definitely know the roles, but like it's comparable, but then it's not comparable, and you know, in different ways too. As far as esports, is it harder for professional sports versus professional esports? The push and pull, I would say the structure and the exploitation might be the biggest things to focus on, because with esports, it's still rather new. You still have a lot of shady people coming in and over promising, you know.
Bro, how many esports players would we actually have if there was better parenting? And I say this as like a joke because how many kids stayed up till 1 a.m. practicing, going full sweat without any actual parental supervision? But the kid who wants to play basketball needs to get that shit signed, needs to have a parent involved, the school's involved, the state's kind of involved. There's a lot of people involved to go for the welfare of that kid, just in general. But that 13-year-old greasy kid playing Fortnite, no one's giving a shit about him. Everybody's like, yeah,
different origin stories.
You see what I'm saying?
That a lot of the professional athletes come from places of poverty, as well as places of wealth, because then they have the space to do it. Like I know hockey players.
But there's somebody looking out for the kid in organized sports. Like it's not like Dyfus will show up. It's not like if you're on the internet. Like,
yeah,
he's gonna show. Like
what you're saying though, but generally what you're saying is that there's already organization for the youth version of that. There's no organization for the youth
movie
esports,
The Wizard.
Really,
we let it get to this. Like remember, like this is nonsense. We let it get to this, man. Though the movie The Wizard came out with Fred Savage winning a fucking esports tournament in the 80s. I'm not trying to hear this stupid shit. Like we just let it get to this. Like that's all. Like we didn't properly set it up. We let it go friggin' wild west in every single thing.
Absolutely.
Every game decided to have to be its own game, and like that's cool. It's whatever. It is what it is. This is where we are now. But there's just less rules in esports.
But that's also
there's rules for the game.
That's also where
nothing for players.
That's also where like college football started first, and then the NFL started. Well, it was the AFL, and then it became like an NFL started. So like right. So like even that way, like just trajectory of like business and action has been different, and like I think that all accumulates into the harder aspect of it. And we're also like over 100 years into like sports, professional sports. In the US,
but again, they go through school.
Yeah,
like even the college level, right?
But,
like it goes through the school, so it limits you. It limits you on what you can do.
Nick, but that's also a part of the acquisition strategy. That is
there's no grades to go along with this. So like if you're a college college basketball player, you have to keep your grades up. So there's no time to waste all your time going like trying to play basketball, even if you could. So like an esports player just doesn't have this. To say that it's harder. It's not harder. It's different, man. Famously,
unless you're not in Division I, it's famously that college athletes take basket weaving and like the easiest, and they've got tutors that go with them on the road, and they don't show up to class, or they have a special class only for the team on a special time that fits the practice schedule. So like the system is also then catered around a lot for that sport kind of aspect too. Again, there's a lot of push and pull, but this is just basically this contentious conversation I wanted to kind of have for this first act of the story, because this is esports in a nutshell. Like there's a lot of that's happening, a lot different, and like, is it harder? Is it not? But you know, seems so that Shroud says it's harder to be a pro in esports than basketball. We agree and disagree for different reasons with each other, but then we both kind of disagree with what he's explaining. And I think it's just casual conversation. That's, like you said, it's kind of cap. So like whatever, but it kind of leads into this next one before. Sorry, Gil, go ahead. But you had something.
No, I was just going to say like, you know, there's just not that many, like there's a good amount of like esports pros if we were to talk about like all games. Right. And we were talking about like, but that's like esports, right? Versus basketball. like you would have to take every single organized sport and put them together. You can't really compare it to basketball. It's not basketball. Like League of Legends is basketball, right? Like esports is sports. It's just electronic sports. So if we take like football, basketball, blah, blah, blah. Are you telling me like that's what he's saying? That's what he's saying is that esports is harder than football, basketball, hockey. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, doesn't matter what it is.
I think
it's harder to be a esports athlete than any one of the professional athletes out there. That's crazy as hell.
I think the logic he's basing that on, though, is that if you're born and you're 6 foot tall by your time you're 10, you're going to be a basketball player, and
the kids with ADHD have natural advantage in esports. That's crazy as hell.
They're saying they don't. He's saying they don't. That's how he's saying it's harder because there's no physical gift like that as dramatic as being 6 foot tall in basketball. I think honestly the percentage goes up from 1% to 40% when you have a height advantage like that at that age. And I know talking about college football, it's so fierce at college level when they get to the NFL, everybody's that size. It becomes more of a brain game. But in college, it's just like a man playing against a bunch of boys, running them over a lot of times. We talked about previously, one of those situations where a big school paid to play Notre Dame and then went there. And, it was good for Notre Dame because they sell out tickets in their stadium. And then this little rinky-dinky Notre Dame beat them kind of thing, right? So there's a lot of that and there's a lot of system to it. I agree with you, Nick, but I also kind of think Shroud is capped here. He is kind of right, but then also not. But again, this is only the first act of the story where it's there's a lot of contention here in that sort of statement.
So then you made me disagree with him after you had the one little thing of his dad passed away. He had a charity event, and I'm like, oh, dude, his dad passed away. Respect, man. My dad passed away. We in that club. It's all good. And then you're just look at this. Do you hate him now? It's
well, let's kind of connect those dots because at the charity he was holding in honor of his dad, he doubled down on a stretch goal for an esports organization. And I believe that if he hit $1 million, he was going to start and launch an esports organization after that milestone. They did. I believe they did. Yeah. On the final day, he surpassed $1 million raised through a final charity auction with one big goal for his viewers. And, here about a month ago, is Shroud launching an esports team? Well, a month later in March, he announced a Marvel Rivals roster, basically talking about how he's Shroud X. I think that's the team name. I gotta dive a little bit deeper in this, but he's fulfilling his promise to the charity here. He's fulfilling that continuation of the charity action for his dad and stuff. And he's doing it through Marvel Rivals. So overall, a little bit of a tension here where it's it's a difficult space. It's a difficult thing. Shroud does feel like he has it. And this is the way I think we've talked about and kind of bring it back to us. This is where we've talked about where we think esports should go and esports should be. It should be streamer content, community focused and driven, and having somebody like Shroud start a roster, start an organization, even if it's at a little bit of a loss, want to make that up. Maybe he can do that through other things, but it's good to see because that's going to be the thing that's going to give sustainability. The double lifts, the Shrouds, the Ludwigs, the Moist Criticals doing this. And this just makes it even feel better that it was in honor of his dad as well. So he can frag out all year with the Marvel Rivals team here.
Nah, I'm all about that. He got his dad in there. I ain't fucking touching that shit, dude. I'm all about Shroud having a good time and a loving memory of his dad. I'm not fucking doing anything bad on that. much love to Shroud, bro. Much love to Shroud.
Wasn't trying to rage bait you anymore. Just that first part, because a little bit of a drama. Esports is a very contentious place, especially the last couple years. These leagues struggling. Even these bigger leagues are kind of weird. We'll be talking about League of Legends. I know we have a lot of kind of nitty-gritty about that. Apex Legends last week, etc. But yeah, Nick, what's your hot take, dude?
I don't know. The games that seem to be successful are the ones that relatively have a pretty straight line throughout the years, And look, chess just became an esports too. Boring game, dead game, I guess. Shroud, right?
Dead game.
dead game. But like, yeah, like probably the games that don't have such fluctuations in meta, where you can actually have people have like a fundamental understanding of the game, is probably like the way to go.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, metas, damage changes. Yeah, we nerf this person, we buff this person. Like all that kind of sucks. Like I thought that from like the jump, right? Like why Smash have such a good community? Like game
Because
hasn't been
longevity.
updated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just players got better, and then like we get to like evolve the game and stuff like that, right? But I've said this before: patches, new game releases, new magic sets. This shit is really stagnates creativity and players in general. But
yeah, you have to keep up with the Joneses. You have to like make money move really quick, otherwise you're broke and you're out. Right. And like I kind of that was one of the points. The traditional sports don't have metas, or the metas are so long. I disagree with that. I do feel like every year, every season, there's a meta. You see overarching stories of meta, like in basketball, you've got the Steph Curry 3 points. There's literally graphs spanning over a decade now where they show like a heat map of where people shoot the ball from. And like, it's all moved to the 3-point line for basketball because of that Steph Curry. They just got so good with that. But part of that too means it has to include that they moved the 3-point line 20 years ago, and that changed it. American football and the NFL changed the kickoff rule, and those are big changes that we will see. But there's so many smaller changes that happen at a coaching level and a player level. And I think that's, like you're saying, where those changes need to happen for esports. They need to happen more so there in like the meta aspect, the deep meta aspect, rather than the fan aspect, where like, oh, I want to see Genji Anna. I want to see, this player hero because he's we were talking about that with like what is it? The grand finals, the world finals for League last year. What's the tournament called at the end of the year?
Worlds?
Just Worlds. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot and validate everything else I said. No, but like at Worlds, we were talking about how they did the patch note for that, and some of those patch picks were like for things they thought were fun to watch, and like that just feels bad if that's integrity of the season. At the end, we're just gonna put the things that are just wacky and fun. Whap whap. But, I mean, where's the balance? Where's the balance of wacky and fun and CS:GO? Same sort of gameplay loop over and over again. CS:GO is still a fantastic esport, but yeah.
And if the game doesn't really stay all that much the same, think about it from a person who's trying to like buy in and get some revenue out of like esports people. Like, I'm going to commit to this team. Like, probably not. Like, how long are they going to be playing this game for? Like, at least like Rocket League, CS:GO, Valorant, League of Legends, Dota, like these ones are already like, sure, they might be going away sometime soon, but like they've lasted so long that like there's some actual strength there to be like, yeah, I could probably get some like ad revenue dollars out of this, something along those lines.
Yeah. It's a big mindset for the marketing side of it. And like thinking in the marketing side, as somebody who has over 10 years of marketing experience in a corporate, big brand, large brand environment, the two sides of the marketing is how do you sell these ad revenue? How do you sell revenue? How do you get people involved, etc.? And then how do you build a community? How do you keep people there? So first and foremost, selling those, you need longevity. Otherwise, it's like buying, cryptocurrencies, getting the rug pulled out from you, like cough, cough, Overwatch League. Like the idea might be cool, but then like it's just, $20 million out from underneath you out of nowhere. And then the flip side is, as a viewer, as a player, as a et cetera, of somebody who is a participating factor of it, you got to have a maze. You got to have a path to journey. And one of the rules with community and retention in community, a good example for that, one of the rules is Christianity. You could go to church for the first time this week, any sort of Christian church tomorrow. And then you could be the Pope in 20 years. There is a path, a journey where you take from that first day, just showing up, into being the number one Christian guy in Rome, essentially. It's a little bit of a long shot, but you can do it. And that's the thing that, like you're saying, that when you speed run that stuff, you don't have time to develop the community. You don't have time for the community to develop themselves, to create that path to being, part of the inner circle, being part of the more inclusive layer and layer of it. And those are big things that, we see the long standing NFL, NHL basketball teams do, but then even now esports, League of Legends, the people who know, and they're in it. CSGO, especially 20-year-old esport, they are in it for life. So that part of marketing is super essential. Having that time stretch rather than being those quick flips and those like rug pull moments that are intentional or unintentional, whatever. Like you don't have the space for that to happen and develop. And it's super needed for esports to go anywhere.
But who knows? That's just a theory, dude.
Sorry, yeah, theory that just managing some major brands definitely did not work. Sure, but okay, yeah. As for a theory right now,
just making more of a joke. But anyway,
I know. Anyway. I wanted to get really serious on that one. Hey, Billy here. Wanted to take a quick minute to let you know a few things. If you're enjoying the content so far, please consider liking and subscribing. It's free for you and it really helps us out. You can find the Esports Meta live every week on Twitch and YouTube. It's where we film the podcast, play games, hang out, and chat. If social media is more your vibe, check us out on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, or Blue Sky. This is a video game community that's excited to talk about esports. So jump on in the conversation. Of course, you can find more content like this on YouTube. Just hit subscribe right here or here. Either way, we appreciate you being here. So thanks for watching. Let's get back to the show. And speaking of theories, we have a theory about our next topic, and that is League of Legends first stand scores. And my theory is that it sucks. I'm going to get so much burn and hate for that. But, we're going to go over the scores right now, take a look at the matchups. We are a couple days late from our normal scheduled broadcast, so we're giving you scores and not just expectations and matchup because the game's already started. All right, let me bring up this week what's happened already at first stand in round one. It was a round robin, just kicking us off for first stand with 5 different teams. And it's a pretty one-sided affair. Humble Life played the other 4 teams and beat all 4 of them. 100% win-loss record, 4-0. CTBC Flying Oyster was our next notable team, bringing it to 3-1. And then everybody else was trash. At least record-wise, I didn't catch a lot of the game. But Carmine Corp, Top Esports, Team Liquid Honda, all running away with a 1-3 record. And somehow, Team Liquid Honda getting the boot and kicked out of this tournament. Nick, I believe you probably watched this a bit more in depth than I did. I'm kind of pushing you to talk about this a little bit, but what were your thoughts with these games, if anything to note or not to?
Zed got played. That was pretty cool. Zed hasn't been played in quite a long time as far as like a champion is concerned. I think it was like it's something silly like 11 years or something like that. I don't remember the exact like. I say like 11 years, like it's really silly. I honestly cannot remember. I believe, let me just double check. I believe it was Zeka. But it could have not been Zeka. Might have been, what game was it? Was it Tess? I don't know. I can't find it. But that's my fault. Go to the hub. Yeah, no, I mean, like overall, like it was pretty cool. There's some things that were pretty cool. Some other things weren't that great. Yeah, it was one time Zed Booth played, and it was really cool.
11 years. If 11 years is almost a lifetime of that game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was like actually 11 years, but it like, it was just cool to see Zed. Zed's a really cool champion. He's an assassin. He's a ninja. And it was an international tournament. He's doing pretty well right now, Zed. But it was cool. That was pretty neat overall. Carmine Court played better than expected, as far as like I was concerned. Yeah, I mean, Team Liquid. Team Liquid.
Yeah.
Go Max on the Race to World first. Wrong game, but hey, I'm positive. No, I didn't see TL really going anywhere with this.
Yeah, that was something we talked about last time we covered this, which, we're hoping and wishing for Team Liquid, but it was a rough road. And international play generally is a rough road for them. And, I think this was just going to be a rough tournament overall. 5-team round robin into the next stage of brackets, like kind of a long shot for like a Team Liquid, but maybe they could have beaten out one of the other 1 and 3 teams, but it doesn't seem like that was the case.
Yeah. So, that's what it is.
Yeah. A couple silver linings. If you wanted to add anything else in there, I was going to take us over into the brackets.
No, I mean, you go into the brackets. It doesn't matter. We had 5 teams. North America got booted out of the house. It's like the most depressing thing, man. It seemed like a party that you were having, and that one kid showed up that you just didn't want to have at your house, and you're like, yo, like, you got to go. Like, it was like, we'll let him have a couple drinks. We'll let him chill, talk to a couple people, and then after that, you got to go, dude. The night's over for you. And that's what happened to Team Liquid. So,
yeah. Pretty small party, pretty quiet affair, very intimate little get together, and like having that weirdo show up like that, makes it all the more weirder. But the brackets here moving forward for round 2 in the semifinals, we have Hanwha Life playing Top Esports and CTBC Flying Oyster playing Carmine Corp. If the records are any sort of indicator of what to expect, Hanwha is going to take it over Top, and then CTBC is going to take it over Carmine. Though you did say Carmine was playing pretty well for this tournament, for their matchups, despite the 1 and 3 record. Do you see any sort of different predictions happening this weekend?
Not really. Like, full honesty, let me see. Who I would probably... It's going to be like Hanwha Life. Like, real talk. Like, Hanwha Life and Tess. But like, I think Hanwha Life's just going to win this whole entire thing. I don't think it's really going to be too much of a contest. But, KC won like 1 match against them, right? They went 1 and 2.
Okay.
On the 13th, that was yesterday. Those were like really fun matches. They did better than North America, but listen, it's Hanwha Life. Like, this is...
Yeah.
You got to put these guys on, like, they have an 81% win rate on blue side.
And they're looking really hot overall.
Yeah. Like, but they were, they've been like this for how long? Like, they are doing really, really, they have Zeus now. Like, this is the world, this is a guy from T1. Like, you don't know, because you can't remember all these names. It's just alphabet soup to you, as you call it. And so, like, you have Zeus, who is on T1. He's on Hanwha Life. Peanut's great. Peanut's amazing. Delight's awesome. Viper's awesome. Zeka's awesome. Like, this is a solid team. Super strong. And it's going to be really, really hard to beat them.
Well, they don't really have to go through many teams, so you don't really get a lot of shots. CTBC probably going to be the only ones that are going to make a stand against them, perhaps. But then who knows? Maybe Carmine Corp. Carmine Corp has the vengeance. Might be the most interesting thing to happen in this tournament. We both talked about how this was a smaller tournament, a smaller international tournament as well. So we weren't expecting too much, but it's a pretty lofty prize pool for something with only 5 teams like this, like an event like this size overall. So love to see that, but man, just hand the money to Hanwha at this point.
Yeah, the only people who actually took games off of Hanwha Life in this tournament, by the way, were Carmine Corp and Team Liquid. So, like, make a thought in your head that's disrespectful. Make one that's, more positive about somebody. It doesn't really matter. Essentially, the worst team to go up against Hanwha Life did the best. So, what does that mean? Did they care? Did Hanwha Life care all that much? Probably not. Like, were they playing the hardest? Probably when they realized that they just need to, not let it get into a sketchy area like they did after one loss. But the cool thing that I realized, it was one of the things that one of the co-streamers said, was that maybe they use first stand as like their oh my god, brain's not working today. Their tinkering, their playtest area, and so maybe we might get some other things going, like I don't know about map modes or anything like that, but we might get something unique It's the first time that, you know, they're doing the first time that they're doing like, dude, my brain is not working right now. Flawless.
I got you all riled up about the Shroud stuff and the esport thing, and then you just blown a fuse.
Crazy. You can't even, bro. You can exercise and play esports like at the same time. Like you get a little motorbike underneath your shit. Like
yeah,
it's
standing
crazy.
desk
Anyway.
motorbike. Let's go. Are you talking about like Riot introducing? He was saying that Riot, it could be a place like a sandbox for Riot to like introduce new game modes and other tests.
Not even just new game modes.
Tournament
Could be that, but also could be like the fact that like flawless draft is the first time that we have international like flawless draft between all like the regions. So it could be a time to like test other things like that. Maybe not flawless itself, but something in those in that vein.
Gotcha. Yeah. Interesting. Maybe that's the overall point, especially when you want to give guaranteed representation like that, one to like each region essentially. Because otherwise it's always, you know, Korea is the main character. APAC, China is the main character in the League of Legends story and matchups. We'll see how that continues, but we do have another story to transition to, an announcement that Riot had for the LEC. They announced something that we've kind of talked about before. We would want to see happen, but in a different way. The LEC road trip is occurring. Specifically, they're basically sending LEC teams to different locations. Movistar, Koi, and Carmine Corp are going to be hosting LEC road trips in Spain and France this spring split. So coming up in the next section of League, they're going to be hosting events at their spots from other teams in the LEC. This immediately felt like a homestand. It felt like a lot of stuff that, Rocket League does, where they have these events in a lot of different places around the world. Pokemon even having these like international invitationals, the national regional invitationals, I believe. This felt somewhat similar, and it's kind of resembles something that we've talked about previously. I would like to see this happen if they do Korean boot camp in a more official sort of manner where, hey, let's take some of the LEC teams and send them over to Korea for like 2 weeks and play some games over there. You know, Nick, reading this and talking about this, is this a nothing burger, or is this something bigger, or, you know, just a cool differentiation for that the LEC can only do?
This. I said it before stream, right? This is something the LEC can only do. American fan bases don't care when it comes to like esports. Like, what I mean by that is like the communities of the teams that are in Europe are just way stronger than like America. Like if I say PSG to like anybody who watches esports for Europe, they'd be like, yeah, I know who the fuck PSG is. You know, like. There's so many different like actual communities itself and like organizations that are just solid. The Fnatic, shit on Fnatic every time. That's my thing. Like the orange and black is
gonna buy you some Fnatic socks.
I don't know why I hate on those guys so much, but I'm choosing it. It's innocent hate, but I hate them. Take them out. Anyway, no, but like they just have such a nice little gathering. They already know how to interact. The people in Europe are more in tune with this sort of thing, like just coming together, having this sort of thing. So it's going to be a really solid for the teams that actually are doing it, and actually the people who love their team. They'll be able to go. It'll be a huge event for your team. It won't matter who's showing up. It'll be like, cool, the other team showed up. We'll be able to play some games today. But for the most part, it's going to be your team hosting it, you know, running the event, doing something cool for you, making sure that it's special about you. And it's a smart thing to do. It can't happen in America.
You don't think that's possible for like international play where like, let's say the LTA North teams go over to Europe for a 2-week sort of thing. And I kind of equate it to like traveling, you know, soccer, football teams. Like when Messi comes to play with Miami, Inter Miami team, you know, the tickets go up to $4,000. And yes, it's Messi, who's like an iconic star of notoriety, especially right now. But that's kind of the same with a lot of those big teams when they have the friendlies that they play and go international all around the world. They're able to generate a lot of ticket sales as well as merch sales. You you don't really feel like League and these teams could do that cross region aspect where, oh, I don't really like the North American teams, but I would like to see, you know,
Faker?
a South American team play, or
I'm not fucking
Faker
paying
play,
4 G's to go see Faker. Fuck that. I already saw Faker for $100. I saw him for $100. This is what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to get me, dude. It's just like, it's too much travel. As Americans, we already travel way too much in general. We don't go anywhere with that travel, but it takes 6 hours to go to our mailbox. Like this, like the whole entire country. Like we're not going to do that. We're not traveling to go see somebody, but we would travel to participate in a tournament. Like I'll go to Prague to play in the Magic tournament, like Eternal Weekend Prague, but I'm not going to Eternal Weekend to meet a Magic the Gathering player. Same thing. I wouldn't go to Korea just to, I don't know, hey, Faker, this is great. A photo? Yeah, awesome. I can just Photoshop myself, dude. Like, that's nonsense. Like, I would never do that. It wouldn't be any fun. But, like, in Europe, it's different, man. You go 45 minutes on, like, a train ride, 2 hours. You travel 2 hours, and you already went through 2 countries. Like, it's completely different.
Going to a tournament. You're going to a tournament, especially with the road trip here.
You're going to, like, think about us traveling to go see Rutgers. We're in New Jersey. We're traveling an hour to go see Rutgers. That pisses me off. That's Rutgers. I go an hour. You're talking about somebody spent 2 hours, went to a place that they wanted to go, and you're comparing it to me. I got to travel, what? Time zones, dates. Got to go through
no.
Where my internet doesn't even work anymore just to be able to go. No, dude. No,
you misinterpret. Would you go if one like they had like you've been to Worlds before, you've been to League of Legends Worlds before, yeah, they had it in New York City, you traveled that hour into the city to go watch it, etc. I'm saying have an event that's not necessarily as big as Worlds, but it is like, hey, here's a weekend event where there's games, and here's the teams from South Korea playing against LTA North. Even if it's a one-sided thing, would that be a fun event to go to? Because you don't usually get to go see that. You don't get to, have that experience.
No, I would rather go see, I would rather have Riot host one of the events actually on the East Coast instead of hosting it in their studio or whatever, right? Like that would go get me to see an event. Nobody in esports in America gives a shit about the players. They care more about streamers who play their fucking game, and this is me 100% truthful. They care more about fucking flats than they did about any fucking pro player who played Overwatch, who wants to play Marvel Rivals, who wants to play Valorant. They give 2 fucking shits, but they love flats. Like, no hate on flats. I'm just saying, like, flats is more fucking popular than a fucking pro player. Like, and who's responding? Like, that's not going to get me to leave my house. You see what I'm saying? Like, in America, we don't give a shit about the pro player. We care about the guy who talks about the pro player. Like half of the people in America who watch football don't even know half of the players' names. You know what I mean? Like how many people watch the Super Bowl for like, oh yeah, what's that guy got to say about sports? How's your local home team doing? Like no one cares. They don't care about pro players.
That's an interesting part when you bring up like a football, because a lot of that business side of football is that conversion. How do we
conversion? It's basically a cult that gets people as kids. Are you out of your mind? Like if we're in real talk, that shit's culty as fuck. We all participate in it, but it's very culty. Like you get brought into it because your parents, right? And like video games just have that like time and shit. So
you're really feisty today, but yeah, overall, I told you. It only takes 2 people to be in a cult. So you and I are in a cult with this podcast. If there's somebody else watching, welcome to the cult. Thanks for joining us.
No, that's a joke on the cult thing, but you get what I'm saying. It's a little bit different. Yeah, you're more indoctrinated into it than you are with like video games, because video games as a kid have a negative connotation to you. Like your kids playing video games is like, whoa, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Go do your homework. Go do your homework.
And in Canada, it's not American football, it's hockey. And then we've talked about in South Korea where like Faker's got like a girly fan club, right? Like he's got a bunch of like ladies that are popular watching him specifically, right? He's doing car commercials. So there's a dramatic difference, and it's a cultural thing. But I wanted to bring up the stat because what I was saying about American football is that they've got over 60% of the market share of the US market. 350 million people in the US. They have a connection to about 60 something percent of those people that watch at least one game or one part of a game every year. Beyond that, those people also spend money on that every year, and they've averaged it to about $20. Either go to a game, buy the watch pass, whatever, the NFL Red Zone, whatever it is, you buy merch. The average person spends about $20. Compare that to baseball. Baseball's market share, I think they're the third most popular game in the US. I think it's something like 20%. It's dramatically less. And they get about $200 per person every year from that same sort of ratio. So like, that's the point and anecdote I wanted to bring up from statistics that are a little bit old at this point, but like, that's the entire business of football and baseball and like those professional sports, especially at this point, because they're able to focus on that, is that conversion. If you get people to convert and take action every year, football does it by quantity. Baseball does it by quality, where every individual person is more of a whale. Like esports has it and kind of does. And it's more of the streamers that are doing that on that side of things, which is, very interesting, I think. And it kind of to your point, yeah, more people who play Overwatch are interested in flats than they are with like Rack Attack. Rack Attack is a professional Overwatch player for years, and he's become more of a streamer, more of a personality. XQC was a professional Overwatch player and then turned personality. Like the personality part is the thing people want to do. They make more money, but like there needs to be a better marriage of the two. And there's going to be people like Flats always who are going to commentate and enjoy the game and be like a figurehead. That's what happens. But in that same one, we need people who also then kind of merge it and bring it together so that it's a better example. It's a better reason, a better value for somebody like you to go to an event like that, perhaps.
You'll never get me to go to an event like that.
No, I would love to see. I would love to see that road trip happen. And specifically for Overwatch, I would love to see the North American teams take one split and go over to like play the South Korean teams or half the South Korean teams and like vice versa. That'd be very interesting. And maybe it make competition better, because then they get their ass kicked at first and then like need let's learn kind of moment.
For like the home viewers, it would be fine, right? But it would just destroy the actual feel of the viewership. So like if you were one of the chumps, and I would call you a chump if you were in North America and traveled for your home game of your no, like seriously, you show up, it's going to be an empty stadium on your side, dude. It's like it's going to be weird. Like not every single person, it's not going to be a sold out stadium for any esports team playing any game. It won't happen. And that's like, but it will happen in Europe. They'll literally they literally have communities like that. They already do that. Every single one of their games, they already do it. So like,
but you don't get that. You don't get that from, you have to start somewhere. Is what I'm saying.
4 hours, dude. That's what I'm saying. Dude, you know how many people, you don't have your state. You don't have enough people in your state who love you. Like no joke.
You would do it if you felt it was worth it.
No, but I
don't feel it's worth it.
No, it'll never be worth it because you'll make me travel too far. I'm telling you, like, it's not a local thing. In Europe, it's local. You see how big Europe is? It's like, I'm not saying it's small, but like, really, like, understand the actual, like, base that exists. Like, we go from East Coast to West Coast. That's literally almost half the planet. Disgusting. Like, it's a huge amount of space, man. So, like, you're
looking at the wrong maps. That's barely a quarter, if that.
Bro, like, calm down, jackass.
You throw some hyperbolic statements. I gotta check you on a little bit.
But no, for like seriously, Jesus Christ, my thing just.
There's a lot of sprawl in the U.S. and like, they're not going to go into like Memphis.
Enough. But if I travel, as I said before, if I travel 2 hours in Europe, I can get to my team. If I travel 2 hours in North America, it's nowhere near guaranteed. It's almost guaranteed. Under 5 in Europe, guaranteed not to happen in North America. It doesn't matter where it is. It's not localized enough.
I'm not saying once a week. I'm not saying like once a year, even once every couple of years, having that like thing happen. It'd be a lot. I feel like it'd be a lot better. But we're kind of anchoring on here with the road trip and arguing with it. We do have some more stuff to go on. Unless you have any final thoughts with this.
No, Europe's great. Europe will do it. By the way, that was only like 10 minutes of that. Let's get through it. We got 25 more minutes. Get the hell out of here. I'm in such a bitchy mood, dude. I fell down the stairs last week.
How, man? Was the stairs too big or something? Like,
no, I was too big. That's the whole point. That's why I'm hurting.
Well, that's why you don't want to head over to one of these events either. So anyway, let's move into a different event, different esport, and we got a different story for you. We're gonna start. First off, we're talking about the Race to World First. We have a story to go over in this past week of the mythic Race to World First, Liberation of Undermine. Sorry, let me clear my throat. Excuse me 1 second. Gonna quietly sip some smug water here.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, what do you got going on, man? While we transition,
no, dude, I just started to read an article that there's a $100,000 for an ultra rare card you've never heard of for Magic the Gathering, and so I had to call bullshit. And guess what? Yeah, I've never heard of this card.
They were right. You've never heard of it, but is it valuable?
No, it's like I don't know. Anything can be valuable in Magic the Gathering. It's how many people want it.
Yeah. All right, so I'm all reset and ready to go. And as of this reset for the Race of World First, we saw the launch of the Mythic race. All the top 3 guilds were going it. All these other guilds were in it. And we had a bit of an interesting story. The Race of World First had a false start. Specifically, what I'm talking about is that there was a guild, Quality Assurance, that got banned. They killed Mythic Gallywix first, but they did it using an exploit, and it got them banned. And then Nick, you informed me pre-podcast today, they did it again.
Yeah.
They did it a second time and got banned a second time.
Yep,
so
they did it with their guild name backwards. Like just the word for letter for letter backwards. They wrote their guild name out backwards, and they went and did it the exact same thing again. It's beautiful. You guys are talented.
Right, so let's run down what actually happened with this when this essentially first kill that was revoked. A guild, Quality Assurance, basically had a half raid, went right to Gallywix, and essentially using all gray gear, all level 1 low, with the power of exploits, accessed a dev command, a GM tool to insta-kill the boss. It came up on the leaderboards immediately that they knocked them down. They killed them, got that world first achievement banner, and then Blizzard, as well as the community, noticed and went, WTF, Batman, get rid of this. They banned them. And yeah, that was what happened. So then, Nick, like you said, they went back. They started another guild with a backwards name with all new, fresh accounts as well.
Yeah, man, they literally they bought every expansion again. They bought up to current modern WoW and just did it all over again because the exploit was still there. And like at this point, give them an award, man. There should be an achievement for them, like specifically for them. Thanks for finding the bug, Gallywix. Like, I don't know, but it was cool. It was funny. Yeah. It was funny. It's something stupid. Yeah. Obviously, it's not someone trying to be. They're not trying to be serious. With this thing, they went in with all white gear, right? All grays. Like they're not serious at all. This is the most choky thing. Level.
Yeah. The current max high level item level right now is like 650, etc. 660. They're running a 56 eye level in a 20-man raid. So with only killing 2 of the 8 bosses as well. So absolutely ridiculous. Number 1 in the world. Number 1 in the world. Number 1 in EU and the realm. Amazing. And of course they knew it was a joke. They knew they were going to get caught and it was going to, but like they wanted to point out, this is some, what's his face? Rex? Is it Rexploy? The notable exploiter who does some really funny stuff. The Paladin. I think he soloed one of the more current raids, like literally like the Nuru Palace by himself as a Paladin. It took him hours to do. But yeah, like it's that level of just like gimmicky, fun kind of ridiculousness, a little white hat exploiting here.
But hours fighting a boss? Okay.
Dude, yeah, no, it was 6 hours on Kaiveza, I believe it was. And like just, yeah, soloing it.
Absolutely. Like, way to pass the ADHD test in flying colors, man. No fucking shot. No
but do you
shot.
pass the autism test? But do you pass the autism test with that?
I'm not touching that. I don't have that. I'm not touching that or making jokes about it. But I got ADHD, and I can definitely say whatever I want about it.
It is absolutely a superpower, especially you're sitting there for like 6 to 8 hours to kill one boss.
You
Like,
should do an
it's not just
interview with them,
multiple
ask him
attempts,
like
it's
what he
just
drank
one
up to
attempt.
it. What would you drink going up to it? Did you drink a lot of water? Did you try not to drink a lot of water? Like, you know, this is going to be a tough one going into it. Pretty crazy.
Perhaps, but this, this is all in the efforts of the Race to World First, which I believe is the best esport out there. Very community driven, very community focused, right? And this Race to World First has been nothing short of exceptional. It's been a lot of fun, probably rated as one of the highest raids difficulties so far. And we've got a bit of an interesting narrative, one that's a bit unexpected, unfathomed previously. So let's go into the recap. The race kicked off last Tuesday, about a week. Well, at this point, it's over 10 days ago, 11 days ago. And we have got Team Liquid who've killed 6 of 8. And I do have to refresh this because I believe there's a live update. They killed 6 of 8 with Team Echo number 2. Truthfully, Team Echo has been the number 1 spot, and this is the unexpected aspect of this. Method has been floundering a little bit. They've been struggling. We've thought that this was going to be their time to kind of fight back, push, so that they didn't lose 2 in a row. The behemoth of Race to World First, of WoW esports in general, Method, have been looking a little bit lackluster. Still top 3, but you can see here, they're an easy 15% behind the next one, Team Echo. Team Echo has been the team that's been looking really good. Echo Esports has been on fire, playing exceptionally well. They did really well in the last raid tier, but didn't drop the ball on the last boss. And it's kind of been neck and neck from Echo and Liquid back and forth here. I want to bring us to a live update right now. I want to actually do a quick refresh here because we are talking about very, very specifically live events that's happening right now as the podcast is filming. So overall, the week started and those top 3 guilds took it slow. We saw, Melee Mechanics take the first boss on day 1, and then Bound take the second boss on day 1 as well. The third boss was immediately where the wall got hit. This was the DJ boss. Instant Dollars ultimately ends up taking the win on that boss, but this is where things started to slow down because on 4th boss, Styx Bunk Junker took 114 pulls, and I don't believe it was beat. I don't think they completed or finished that boss for days. I think it was day 4 or day 5. Let me take a look at that specifically. But Nick, have you had a chance to watch the race so far and these first bosses? And have you thought anything differently about your Team Liquid Max kind of play style and strategy so far?
No, I haven't felt, let's say, like too much want to watch it this time around. It's not, my current opinion is that it's not the best esport out or around. But yeah.
Just gotta be a disagreeing little,
oh, dude, I'm such a little shit,
kind of like back and forth.
Yeah. No, I'm absolutely a little shit.
We're primed for this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely primed. Like, listen, respect the Shroud.
Respect the Shroud's dad.
Yeah. Much love to Shroud and Shroud's dad. Yeah, rest in peace. Rip. Anyway.
So yeah, rest in peace some of these bosses as well, because the first wall was Styx Bunk Junker, and here's Team Liquid's kill and their damage spike, but this was completed on March 9th. March 9th was this past Sunday. The race started on the Tuesday, the 4th for Team Liquid, the 5th for the EU guilds. So it went 1, 2, 3, 4. Day 5 was when we saw the kill on the 4th boss. At that point, people were already expecting this to be a 2-week or possibly a 3-week event. It's been neck and neck with Echo and Team Liquid bouncing back between these kills as they've continued on to some of these bosses. And these mechanics have been exactly that. wacky AF and just a head-to-head showdown. Right now, they're on the second to last boss, a boss with 2 heads and a ton of mechanics that are all over the place. Team Liquid has had a leading pull of 1.9%, almost downing them. Team Echo, I believe, is finished for the night, have gotten that boss down to 10%. So Liquid's in a spot where if they get this now, if they get this soon, they're easily top dog, easily on the last boss, can do some like polls that are recon polls, research polls off stream, and it leaves a lot for Team Echo to make up. But if they don't, Team Echo has a full day ahead of them to make a lot of progress and possibly win this race, overall. Nick, are you kind of surprised or anything by the difficulty of this raid or the Team Echo and Team Liquid being this? I know you're really into Team Liquid, Team Max, and I'm not going to, much love to Max, much love to Echo. Do you see Liquid pulling this one off, maintaining that energy, especially when Team Liquid over in League of Legends can't really get past first round stuff?
Relax first. Okay. You can't be doing that. Like, I can do it, but you can't do it. Okay. All right. So anyway, yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with Team Max, Team Liquid, right? Yeah, I'm gonna stop saying, oh no. Max is great. His content's great. Liquid's golden. Echo can probably win. Method's not going to do anything. Method is a Method has not been in my this is going to be, someone's going to come after me. They haven't been relevant in like 4 years, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, they're there, but so is everybody else. Like, they got third, but so is as far as I'm concerned, it's all tied for third. Like, you have first and second, and then you got a tied for third with the way that like Method is and everything like that. But there's a bunch of reasons we won't get into on stream, but they effectively disbanded 4 years ago and have been recovering from it since. So like, it's not a surprise that Method isn't like doing great.
So then is it more of a surprise for them to take world first for the last raid of like Dragonflight? A Midrisil, I believe it was. They did win that, and that was relatively recent. But yeah, with it after that 4-year disbandment thing, it's been in that time frame. So like, is it more of a surprise for them to still like have these flashes of competition, flashes in this in Race to World First, as well as the PvP aspect inside of World of Warcraft?
No, like not really, right? Like, you can see it. There's a couple fights where Team Liquid doesn't get it, right? Echo doesn't get it. And somebody else ends up getting it in 25 kills. And Echo only, Team Liquid did it in 6, right? Should they not have first place? They took too many tries anyway. You spent like 12 hours doing it. Team Liquid only did it in 45. Like, they get the first place. Now, it's like, there's people who just do it faster, right? And they get through it and stuff like that. Sometimes they're able to manage the raid, abilities, spells, what have you, mechanics just in general a little bit better.
Better strategy too, yeah.
Like, maybe in the chaos, but like, again, Team Liquid is probably like one of the most organized things, right? Like, Echo and Team Liquid are pretty organized, especially since like Team Liquid is the team, or is the guild rather, right? That set out that you're gonna have your actual lead the raid. He's going to be, monitoring everything. He's the 26th man. Yeah. Exactly. Right. He's the 26th player. They're the first people to do it. That's the reason why it exists. Why we have it is because it's effective, and they just need like a little bit more time. It's like, who wins in a fight, Batman or the Hulk? Like, Batman, if he got time to prep. Otherwise, like, he ain't fucking winning. Like Team Liquid just like they get the prep time and it's all good.
It was interesting too with the prep time, the distinct strategy. They knew the numbers and knew it was going to be a difficult race on this one. So like Echo, Method, Liquid, they all took their time. They didn't even bother really racing for the first 3 bosses. They just went and did splits like immediately. They went and leveled up essentially, got the gears, the eye levels up, got the trinkets, and did it through so many different characters to try to prep, not knowing what they're going to need I believe most of this raid has been utilizing 3 healers as well. So it's been very DPS focused and mindset and trying to like skirt around not taking damage. And then the more recent fight, I believe they had 5 heal it, which is a big pivot from what was previous. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it's continued. If Method can kind of make a little bit of a comeback, I don't see that also in the cards. I do see Echo possibly pushing if Team Liquid doesn't. We're in crunch time, essentially. We're in that moment of this competition where they need to make something happen. And they've been playing super well, both Team Liquid and Team Echo. Both Team Liquid and Team Echo. So we'll see. It's anybody's race here. It's all about who can make that push with those advantages right now and leverage that overall. As I said, this is a live feed of Team Liquid currently progging on the new boss. They're taking a break. They're reviewing some of the weak auras and adjusting the strategy, I believe. But their best percentage was 1.89%, essentially 2% on the boss kill. They've had 137 pulls. The last pull was 11%. So they're getting close. They just need to find a way to push over the edge. And they need to find a way to do that tonight so that they can push that advantage over Echo having, you know, a full raid day. They're done for the day. They'll have a full raid tomorrow. I'm going to keep an eye on this. So if it happens during the podcast, Nick, I'm going to stop us on a dime and announce this on a podcast that's going to come out after the fact. But I'm going to be excited about it. So be prepared.
All right, sick. I'll hope for the worst.
All right. Well, and that way too, I have one more story to talk about for WoW before we move on to another game here. We are finished with the Race to the World first, but we are finished with the Race to the World first, but we are going to be moving on into more about Blizz developments. It was recently sort of not leaked, but discovered in some of the back end code that Blizzard's developing their own weak aura feature for their UI. This week, it was launched on the PTR, getting ready for a patch 11.1.5. Belluar did a pretty decent video of it, so I'm going to put that in the background here as
this guy for once.
Talking about something relevant and not just like yelling about game news. That's our job, buddy. Okay, we yell about game news here, especially right. So here we are. It was originally provided by Kvax, a community manager, and a blue post talking about essential cooldowns, utilities, etc. But more or less, they're basically developing weak auras, a cooldown manager. It's a slimmed down version for every spec in the game, and it's going to be delivered to you directly in their new editable. What it sounded so weird when I said it, but okay. In the new UI edit feature. Okay. So here's the video. Here's some PTR footage as well. Pop that there. And you can see on the screen here, we've got a paladin running. We've got some cooldown bars in the top middle right. We've got the new cooldowns and buffs in the middle. So, you know, looking pretty good, like a decent step in. I know there's some specific petty complaints where why is crusading strikes even being tracked, etc. But like that's something that could be ironed out easily as we kind of watch through this. Nick, as somebody who just got back into WoW, playing a new character, you know, what was your experience like, kind of adjusting and especially like the feeling to need add-ons per se? How has that felt for you as you've jumped into the paladin yourself?
You know, like I have a desired look because of how long I've played WoW. That if I can get it based on like the in-game UI, that's awesome. That's fine. I don't have to download anything. But you know, other than that, the only reason why I see them like doing this stuff to have it like client based is to just upgrade the overall look of the client to make it not feel so archaic or antiquated, rather. Absolutely, right? Yeah. Like it just helps like with the game itself. But it did like logging in for the first time, not playing, like it felt like there was like too much. Like right away, but you know.
Yeah. And that's like a big complaint about WoW, even the old UI, where it felt like a lot, especially with them in the modern era of UIs and whatnot. I do feel like this is necessary to scale you up from like a casual player into a more hardcore player. Like even if you were doing more PvP seriousness, you would want these trackers essentially, but you'd probably want it to be more flexible, especially for PvP, where you want to track other people's cooldowns, not just your own, etc. It'd be interesting to see if they fully flesh something like that out, so it does mimic more of a arena frames or what's it called, platter UI stuff or weak auras. But I do feel like this is a great first start to start getting people into this, especially for like a Mythic Plus person. Get somebody into like dungeons, get somebody into dungeons more seriously. I think this is a great step in the UI for a 20-year-old game to actually do.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, got to update the game. It can't remain the same forever. And like this whole grid thing is phenomenal. Like the actual customization that you have for the UI is great. Being a person who has to download like 6 add-ons, like I still have problems with some of like the some of the features, right? But that's because Blizzard is actively trying to reduce the usefulness. And I don't want to say like the outright usefulness of these add-ons, but like the glaring problems that they don't like with these add-ons. I think they're trying to just incorporate them slowly into the game to get people to use theirs. That way they can disable the API eventually. And so they don't have to worry about certain things. But
yeah, I think it's a shift in design as well. Like they're just changing the mentality of how they're designing the raids, how they're designing the mechanics. And like, because I almost look at add-ons as being it's called the desired path. Players obviously want it. They obviously need it. So like either Blizzard provides it at bespoke as is, or they find that middle ground of like, okay, a little bit of adjustment from our end, but we'll also meet where you are. We'll have a compromise and like still provide you what you're looking for, but then change what it's based on so that you don't need the full plethora of it. So it'd be interesting to see how that continues. It'd be interesting Blizzard actually doing something for something like this after they haven't for 20 years. The viability of the game for new players, for players to then be upstreamed into more, serious raiding, more serious dungeons, Mythic Plus, PvP, whatever you might play, whatever you like. Having these options for that is definitely the way to go. Love to see it on that. So yeah, that kind of wraps us for that WoW part of our story, Nick. It's pretty straightforward when it comes to the UI. What is one thing that you think you'd love to see them do? And what's one thing you'd love to see them stay away from when it comes to like Blizzard and UI for WoW?
I don't really have too many. I haven't thought about like the UI, but the thing for overall in the game that comes to mind is like the amount of buttons is pretty insane. Just in general. Still.
Like for class abilities and stuff?
Yeah.
I know certain classes are definitely a lot worse than others. When I play a druid versus when I play like a death knight, or a demon hunter, it's absolutely like bonkers, the gap between the two, the differential of abilities.
Yeah, I mean, like I played a druid in the last expansion and the expansion before it. Because I play every expansion because I'm a loser like that. But the overall buttons, I remember like even on like a hunter, like not now, like a hunter now is way different from like what it used to be. Yeah. Like back in the day, I had way too many keybinds. I had like 5 or 6 bars of keybinds at like level 70 and level 80 of keybinds as a hunter. Like that was gross. As a healer, it was pretty bad. And I think it was like at 60, it was like 3 or 4. Like macros, down ranks, like it's just so much, dude. Like it's so much for that stuff. And it's not even like, it doesn't add fun to the game. Like, and I think that that's really like what they need to do is like take away a lot of this like bloat that really doesn't, that adds like nicheness, but adds no actual critical funness whatsoever.
But it almost becomes like a standard too, because I remember talking about Peekaboo a year ago at this point with that rogue macro where you can like chain hook, shadow step, and just one single cooldown because of the way those GCDs worked, but like, yeah, like macros are super powerful, especially targeting macros in PvP,
I
etc.
don't like macros. I've never liked macros. They feel like button combinations. It feels like a turbo controller, man. Like, look how old I am. It feels like a fucking turbo controller.
Turbo controller.
Yeah, like you just like you're hitting a like. Could you imagine just hitting like an A button and just having a fatality happen? Like that's it. Like that's what happened. Like that's what you did. That's the macro. And again, like you have a reason for them, but you know, I think that like that only exists because of the way the game has allowed to bloat rather than peel away some of this stuff. Like, you know, there's going to be focus. We're going to focus macro. Well, we have to kick the boss. And it's like having the focus macros and stuff like that helps you focus elsewhere instead of on the thing that you're supposed to do, which in like, that's their build philosophy. That's how they make mechanics. That's how they make boss fights and stuff like that. But like, they know, well, everybody's got to watch out for this kick. They're just going to focus macro it anyway. So like, who cares? What do you mean, who cares? So like, that's like a really important part of the game. Like, why is this dedicated to a switch? And it's like a really important part of the fight. Like, they'll say it's not important because people use a macro, people use an add-on in order to do it, even though it's like the most important part of the fight, right? Like, but whatever.
That's where I was saying, like, it feels like it becomes a bare minimum, like a standard. Like everyone's got to play at that sort of capacity to perform these things without thinking about it. Otherwise, you know, like you said, it's this big deal, but it's made not a big deal. And I think there's a bit of irony in that because, like, you were also speaking about how there's a lot of bloat and macros take away that bloat. And literally with a macro, you press one button to get rid of a bunch of buttons, which is kind of what we want Blizzard to do. Not get rid of, but like reduce the bloat, slim it down. And a macro does it. So like, but a macro is like a desired path from the players where it's like, I want one button that's going to just do everything for me. Not being, you know, dramatic there, but like there's a little bit of irony in that clash of that. And it is a philosophy.
You know?
And it's
maybe you can do it. If somebody's going to be telling you like, yo, idiot, you can just do it this way. Like the most basic level of a macro is just a targeting macro for farming people with their achievements. Like everybody uses the /char macro, right? Like /char whatever rare spawn you're doing and stuff like that. So I don't think macros are inherently good for the game. I don't think a lot of like that bloat is inherently good for the game. I think it actually leads to like toxicity and that like elitist behavior that is actually like the biggest part of cancer of World of Warcraft. But
yeah, well, macros too, or it's not something that's in the tutorial. They don't like go through, okay, press the WASD keys to move. Okay, next hit enter and do /dance. You're right to like this. Oh, you can go to macros to make these buttons to do /dance without you typing /dance. Like it's not in a tutorial. So like that in and of itself is elitist because it's like you have to discover it. You have to be involved in the community. Then like, it's not that you're not going to share it. You will tell other people, but like, you're also not going to know that they don't know. You're also going to like play like
being shamed for information you don't know. Yeah, it's pretty cool,
right? You
right?
don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So like definitely an idea that's bloat, but I do feel like there is a place for some macros in some ways, but how do you limit some and not all, especially with a macro? It's like, it really does feel like an all or nothing thing. Maybe we'll see them make some changes in design philosophy. Maybe we'll see them make some changes in the UI to where macros like that aren't really necessary. But of course, you know, people who are competing are going to cheese what they can because that's what competition is. I think that kind of wraps up my side for World of Warcraft here, Nick. Before we move on, do you have anything else, you know, on that topic for World of Warcraft or macros or Race the World first?
I was just going to say they're going to have to update the game and reduce the bloat in the macros if they want it on that Microsoft handheld.
We'll be talking about that Microsoft handheld in just a little bit as well. The news is coming off this week, but we've also got a couple other stories to talk about first. Actually, just one. It's Overwatch Championship Series. The playoffs for North America finished the bracket tournaments, and it was actually some really good games. None of those 3 Overwatch. So let's run down the scores. All right, let me get the screen right here. There we go. It's all sized up and ready. We started off this tournament with We started off this weekend with Space Station Gaming playing against Team Liquid. It was a very close 3-2. Team Liquid beating Team Nightmare to get there, but then could not complete it against what has been thought and viewed as the strongest team in North America, Space Station Gaming. Space Station takes the win 3-2. In the lower brackets, Team Nightmare was waiting for them for the vengeance match. They got knocked down to lowers in the first round by Team Liquid in a bit of an upset. These teams have played each other 2 weeks in a row, now 3 weeks in a row, and this every week has been a different result. This week, Nightmare took the victory over Team Liquid 3-2. This was a very close match with some very interesting bans, a lot of back and forth banter in play, which was great to see. This was really some exciting Overwatch. Then the finals, the grand finals for this North American tournament was Space Station versus Nightmare, and boy oh boy, it did not disappoint. Nightmare came out fierce, came out hot. They warmed up off of Team Liquid, got momentum, and they beat Space Station Gaming 4-2. Nick, I know you don't watch this dead game. I know you're not interested in this dead game, but I'll tell you what, boy, this it was a very good Overwatch. It was very exciting as an esports fan to see this competition and these score lines that were not 3-0s, which we've been covering this entire 6-week split. It was really nice to see. It was really cool for that. I'm about ready to show you some of the ban percentages if you want, so we can see how your boy Torb did, if your prediction that he should be deleted from the game fully coming true, because it's been waxing and waning a little bit. But if you had anything,
roll swap. I said roll swap them.
Roll swap them. The fun thing of that is that Perks actually kind of did that. You can do some healing on like a Reinhardt or a Diva with the armor. But taking a look at week 2 for the playoff bans, first and foremost, if you enjoy any of these statistics in this document, you want to see it more in depth, you can take a look at our social media at the Esports Meta. We've got the document where you can access for free on there. It's a Google Drive document. So you can get permission, you can take a look at it, you can see the numbers. It's updated every week. This is North America specifically, and I'm developing the document currently so we get breakdowns by team, by map, so a little bit more conclusive about what's being picked and banned and played and not played and what this region thinks of these heroes. So here we are in week 2 of the playoffs for North America, and Ana was our most banned hero overall. Definitely a big shakeup from the previous week, and we'll go over that chart in a second. But beyond that, Malgo was next in line, Kiriko next in line, and Winston. Bit of a shift there, especially when we're talking about, the heroes we've been talking about, Nick. Torbjorn getting a bit more picks, but last week had nothing. Tracer back up there. Farah was back up there. But this was all the support show. You see all these different green bars. Those are our support, and they seem to be the focus of these bans in these games. Tanks were the next ones in line, but definitely not as much.
Look at that.
Looking at this chart, any sort of initial thoughts or speculations, Nick?
I don't know, man. 2 weeks ago, I literally said that these perks were only going to matter for healers and then tanks, and it wasn't going to matter for fucking DPS. I don't know. You can clip that shit. That shit happened 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. I literally looked at them and I was like, yeah, the DPS talents suck. They don't matter. I was like, but look at these healer talents. Brought up Moira, literally one of them just makes her better at not dying, almost all the time, right? It makes sense. But it makes perfect sense.
But she's not really being, Moira specifically is not really being targeted on the top level here. But you have literally
not Moira in general, but just how much value the perks have. Look at the shit that happens for the perks for Torbjorn. You're like, oh, he can heal Reinhardt. Who's dedicating to that? What do you mean? There's not enough in the game for you to dedicate to that. You're not even buying items in the game. You can't buff that strat. You can't do anything else besides that's just an added thing that happens because you picked it.
I still want to see that full Ryan Mr. President comp where it's Reinhardt, Sombra, Baptiste, and Ana or something. You
take a bunch of GMs into iron or gold or whatever it is, and you can have fun with that. It's if you play people on equal skill level, that's going to be not fun.
I don't see that. I don't see it happening at the top level here. But I think a big takeaway for me too is that 7 out of the 10 supports are represented here on the charts, meaning 7 of these supports have been banned at least once. The only 3 that are missing are Moira, Mercy, and Alari that weren't banned, generally not seen as threats. And like, is that because they're not good heroes right now, or is that because the meta is out of sync? Torb was definitely in the meta more because of the anti-hazard, anti-dive. He was really strong playing against that quick dive armored based character to really make pressure happen there. But here we're seeing that like Malga is kind of the top threat for tanks. Winston's the second top threat. So you're either like a rush dive or you're in a dive. Anna's the top threat for supports, but then you have every other support getting banned out at different points. And this was a week of not just like bad teams versus good teams. This was like good teams versus good teams. You saw a lot of diversity of play, a lot of strategy being had in that health. So this was like really pushing the flexibility of these teams and the decision-making overall. Nick, we've got Ashe, we've got Genji, we've got Pharah, Sojourn, Sombra. Sombra we've seen on there. Torb we've seen on. Tracer has a bullshit perk overall. But these were the DPS that were banned. They have the least amount of focus. Probably, I would think probably because the comps are built around tanks and then it's built around support. But why do you think, they're still banning out like a Pharah or a Genji and then going to like Torb and Sojourn?
Like without knowing like the nitty gritty of like the numbers and stuff like that, it has to be due to like unique situations and areas and maps where you have those champions getting hit for a little bit too much damage. Like to me, it looks like the people who were already good before perks got better with perks, right? Like it's classic
Fair,
Blizzard,
yeah.
dude. Like these, like no joke, clowns. Like I say it a lot with these guys. Like they have like their whole idea and it's the same regardless of what game. Like they're not going to allow you to really experiment. They're giving you like the illusion of experimentation right now, but they'll pick your teams for you. They'll patch this shit. Like it's not like they want Tracer to be at the forefront. Tracer's a huge like popular character. Yeah. It's literally in the logo. Like
the Nepo baby of Overwatch, yeah.
Yeah. They like, and Blizzard used to have like more standardized like routines. Like in WoW, they used to go like, all right, well, you couldn't play this kind of mage in the beginning of the expansion, but you could play this one at the end of the expansion because of the eras and stuff like that, right? They're doing the same thing with this one. Like these perks, like limiting the 2 perks means that they already know exactly who's like really going to come out. They already have their ideas. They already have it kind of set in stone, and they'll fix it and tune it other ways. They didn't drop like, all right, guys, you got like 10 picks. There's a lot of combinations here that you can go through. They didn't do any of that. Like, this is very much like you're only picking one or the other. And again, like I bring up Moira because I played Moira the most after like the perks came out, right? Like literally one of her moves is just like, this now has Rebus wounds. That's it. You just put reduced healing on everybody. Like if you don't pick that, that's real weird most of the time. Like, and why isn't she a threat? Because that's how effective she is. She got nothing. The only thing that she got was she does 25% reduced healing.
Well, the option I think for that one, the other option on that one's pretty nice though because of the burst healing orb where you do 50 instant healing on the first time it touches. That is pretty nice, but that does require your team to be grouped up, so it's very situational as well. Yeah,
like again, like. It's pretty obvious picks. Like you're not really going to have like, and again, like I said it with Moira like 2 weeks ago, right? It's like based on what map it's going to be, what team comp you're going to be in most of the time. Damn, dude, my desk. Most of the time it's actually going to be, it's going to be the reduction most of the time, right? Because most of the time you're not really most of the time she gets paired up. It's not like she's sitting with like a Zen. Like it's not like Zen Moira team comps. Like that's awful. That's such an awful time to play if you're Moira. Like, so that's all happening. So you have another person with actual output on your team. So like you're not choosing the other one because you should probably try to build your ult up a lot faster based on damage. Now you have your other guy and so that guy who's actually output healing while you throw that out and now it reduces the enemy's healing that actually happens. Like there's just no reason to pick that other thing. And I'm not even a good person. Like that's just a numbers game, bro. Like a mathematician in like who has 3 kids could randomly pick one of his kids who's 5 years old and be able to come up with like the reason why this will be good in this game. Just kidding.
Pretty intricate hyperbolic situation there. But
you see what I'm saying though? Like each one of these talents is kind of like that.
But it's also why Moira is not being played at the top level here, especially in North America. I don't think we're seeing any Moira across any of the regions. Maybe like a random pick of thing, but looking at the week over the week for the playoffs chart here, Anna went from 3 bans last week to 4 this week. So Anna is the threat. Anna is the strategy. Anna's being played at top end and is a linchpin to the strategy when we talk about that stuff. Zen going from 2 bans last week into 1. Probably so, but like, yeah. So like we are seeing how like some perks are definitely better than others. Some perks are defining metas and like considered strong. Absolutely. Even in every sort of aspect. Yeah. Anna's perk is bouncing. You get a second.
Dude. Yeah, dude, she can literally fight people. You're out of your mind. The bounce is crazy. She like that's crazy as hell. I like that just popped into my head. She can literally fight people with that bounce.
Well, then what's the other one she has on that? I can't remember what she has on that tier of it. But then she has
enemies wake up from critical or slowed for 2 seconds.
Which is really good. I've played with that, and like,
but it's only good for top players.
Yeah, you're not going to be seeing like a silver or gold player running that because it's not as valuable for sure.
And then the major perk is crazy. You get
headshots, crits, and then the double nano boost is probably the second most ridiculous perk in the game.
Yeah, ridiculous. It's like really 2 good. Nano boosts instead of 1.
Well, yeah, but what it does is that you can duel people now. If you're a Genji coming at me, I know somebody else. And now,
dude, what did I just say?
It's so good.
What did I just say? I don't even play this game. And I said, no, fuck that. No, you can duel people with that fucking thing. Because I went into the training tool. I'm not even joking. I went into the training tool with Anna and I did it. And I was like, this is ridiculous. This is too much damage.
It's why you're hosting a podcast, an esports video game podcast, man. You know your stuff. You're on top of it, even when you don't play that game.
I'm just an Irishman. Stupid Ita. That's Italians. I'm also Italian too.
I might, yeah. So anyway, looking at these bans, man, it's been interesting to see how it's continued. I'm going to start it again because we're going to delete that. It's been interesting to see how these bans have continued and how the meta is slightly shifted week over week for the stuff. And we, sinking into that Malga meta, this is all going to be thrown out of the competition because I think the playoffs, they copied and pasted the Korean strategy and tactic. They looked at what they were doing in scrims and they started mimicking them just to try to compete maybe. Space Station Gaming coming down and not being the strongest team in North America. It's less defined. Nightmare taking that #1 spot, getting that seat to go to international. It'll be cool to see, but overall, there's going to be a patch by the international tournament. There's going to be so much that's going to happen. Perks might even be different. They're expecting to do a perk tune-up in the first major patch as well. Changes, some mechanical changes as well. So it's been a great week for Overwatch. I have enjoyed it. It's been a fun week to watch Overwatch esports as well. We'll see how that changes and develops as we look at forward to the international play, which is going to be occurring in April. Promotion relegation is happening on April 13th. That's when we get to see which teams of the bottom 2 get knocked out. If they do, they're going to be facing the 2 top Face It League teams to try to keep their spot. Winners go into split 2 and try to make some money, try to play some of these better teams, the ones that have made it to the international and the playoffs. The Champions Clash is our international tournament happening in China, happening in April. They haven't announced an official date yet, I believe, but if it's going to be around promotion relegation, it's going to be around April 13th there. So not too far off, but we have a bit of a break. So a lot can happen with the meta, with the patches, with the bans, with the strategy. I overall liked how it's gone. I feel like it's a good first step. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more of this community-driven thing with the support of prizes from a Blizzard. So it's not just a throwaway dead game, as everyone keeps talking about. Because it is a fun thing, but it needs that. Like you're right, it does need those aspects and those dimensions to it, Mick.
Hey, here's a thought: instead of turning up those perks, add perks. And what I mean by that is like add another tier. the medium tier, right? And anybody who's doing good on perks right now, just give them like, you know, your jump is a little bit higher. Like just a little bit. Give you a little something. Don't take anything away.
Like basic, like running and run
just
speed
just
jump
as nonsensical garbage that the other guys have now. That like, hey, you also jump a little higher, Moira. Like that's like granted, like that's her one of her moves. That's her minor one, right? Is like she could either fade longer or she could fly up higher. Give him something like that. It'd be kind of
cool if this is completely workshopping something, but it'd be funny if like you get a little bit of like a 1 second speed buff after you jump. So like you're in the air, you're kind of easy to hit, but when you hit the ground, you've got a 1 second like movement buff of like 5-10%. Like you just move a little bit faster.
Give it the tracer. That seems like a tracer
like
ability.
that, yeah.
See what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, like in general, like that would be like, again, don't take things away from players, because like now you have people like liking some of the perks, and if you tune them, does that mean you're going to take them away? Like certain ones you don't like, and people are interacting with them, and then you're going to give us, well, you know, a lot of people didn't really pick those ones, so sorry to the people that this impacts.
Well, yeah,
but
I was going to say it's probably going to be data driven and field driven, and like as Sombra, there's a lot of points you don't take your second perk. It's heal your teammate or hack for 1 second longer, but the distance is shorter. So like it's just straight nerfs. Like if a Doomfist dives your team and you go to hack the Doomfist, if you have the healing one, there's a 90% chance you're just going to heal one of your teammates and target them instead of targeting the Doomfist, which you kind of need to do. So like you can't pick that one. The other one is you have to get close, and you don't want to be that close to like a Doomfist or a ball, because then you get knocked out of the hack easily. So like it just, a lot of Sombra players just don't take the second perk. And I imagine the stats will show those things. I hope that they would change stuff like that. Whereas like a tracer has no downside. Literally, here you get extra blinks for using this thing. You get overhealth for using your blink.
You know,
there's no room like.
I bet Sombra just made the game like unfun. Like they had legitimate perks for her, and then like it literally just having her in the game and having the perks just sucked. Just like you're just, you know what? It just it negatively impacted the mental status of the game. And so we don't put those ones in. And like Tracer just pisses you off. It doesn't really get you, like, it doesn't take you out of the game where it's like, all right, it blinked another. Oh, Tracer just blinked again. Like that's it. Like that's all it does, right? It doesn't really like change the game around you. It's just like, oh, I got another one. You just another reason to piss me off. That's fine, I guess.
It definitely gives a status condition to the whole lobby when you have a Sombra in there, especially like people who've played for a while, because that hack where it's like, you're not letting me play the game. You're the fun police. I just want to play my game inside the game. Like goes into that theory that you've got with stuff.
No theory. Yeah. That's true. That's true. People like to do the thing they like to do. That's all.
And Sombra stops them from doing it. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt that there's a lot of that. But I know also for some other stuff, they're making some changes. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that impacts future Overwatch events, as well as tournaments coming up in April and Split 2. But for now, we've got one more topic to touch before we wrap up for the evening. So if you've gotten this far, thanks for joining us. We're the Esports Meta. We're live every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a Friday today because we had a delay a little bit, but we'll let you know so you can check us out here on Twitch or YouTube. Last story here, Nick. We've got Xbox handheld. A little bit of a surprise story this week. Let me bring it up on. Go there. Okay.
Call of Duty Mobile.
Bring it up on the Call of Duty mobile machine.
Yeah, dude, that's Call of Duty Mobile. That's what that shit is.
There's an exclusive, apparently, release leak that Xbox has new hardware plans for this year, and they're set to release a handheld and targeting next-gen consoles for 2027. So handheld this year, 2025, next-gen consoles in 2027. And this was something that was kind of surprising to come out, but like there doesn't seem to be a lot of information. This seems to be a mock-up, if not the actual thing. The code name for the project of this handheld is Keenan. And that's kind of the extent that we know. There's speculation that they believe it's going to replace the Series S, the Slim, essentially, for Xbox, have the handheld version.
Yeah. You know, they
That's
couldn't
kind of
they
it,
could
Nick.
barely even talk about any game that matters for Xbox. Every last one of those was like, it was literally, what did I say before we even went on the air, dude? I was like, this thing's just going to be a Blizzard handheld. And like you scroll down and they're just like, look at Blizzard. It's got all these mobile games. It's all got Call of Duty. It's got World of Warcraft. It's got Diablo Immortals. Like,
yeah,
it's just
and
Blizzard
the first game
stuff. Like
that article mentioned was Forza as well. And like, this is just the Steam Deck.
Tight. I like that. And I mean,
Forza's a great game. Yeah. But like,
Steam Decks are pretty good.
There's not much to this news that like, hey, it's rumored. It looks like they're going to do this. And like, we're all assuming that it's going to, maybe it's a known secret, but like, just like Deadlock was, but like, it seems that it's going to be a Steam Deck clone, a Switch clone, a PC Switch clone. I'm not going to say Switch clone too many more times because Switch 2 is coming out and the Switch right now is weak AF, but it's still that handheld tablet sort of thing with maybe probably some touchpads. They're going to make some changes to the controllers in some way, which probably means they've got haptic, which you're going to put in here. So you're that Switch. I would love to see if they took a very drastic change here, Nick. I would love to see Microsoft go the route of the Zune. You remember the Zune? It was the MP3 player, dude.
Yeah, I do remember the Zune. The Zune was pretty tight.
I love my Zune, but like it was just not going to go anywhere because of Microsoft and that classic sort of mentality. But I would love to see them take that Game Boy Zune sort of handheld facet aspect to
let's
this.
bring it like full circle for me to be like a full prick on this one, right? Because like Microsoft basically, so Microsoft, in case anybody out there doesn't know, right? Microsoft just ripped off the Dreamcast. Okay. In order to make the Xbox, they ripped off the Dreamcast. And here we go. Rip off the Dreamcast controller. That's what I think they should do. Have a full, it's literally a controller and it has the screen above the controller and you get to play your Call of Duty and shit like that. Like that'd be real sick. Like it folds, in like this. I don't know. It'd be cool. I could see that, but
I can see that happening, but I don't think they're that kind of gimmicky of a company. Like a Nintendo might do something like that.
Now, dude, what is this? They're trying to battle Steam. They're trying to battle Steam because they know, all right, everybody say like they keep trying to say PC gaming is like not worthwhile, and then every year it's always worthwhile. It makes a ton of money. Everybody plays on PC, and it's kind of a joke that console people literally keep what? Yeah, this is the fight Steam, bro.
Well, hold on a second. So, okay, it's fighting Steam, but like I have never heard it or them say or talk about how PC's not worth it. They definitely have made decisions to just move.
Sony has said it easily over the last 5 years. Sony has said, but then they changed their mind and they release all their games in new definitive editions.
Okay.
On like that's what I mean. Like same thing with like Microsoft. Like they don't want to put it on Steam. They'll put it on PC Game Pass. Blah, blah, blah. What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
What are they going to do?
Because Microsoft, Sony, absolutely, because they're such a, stuck in their ways kind of company, and they're definitely die hard on the console thing. But like Microsoft and Xbox every year has made their console more and more like a PC and a PC clone, like a weak PC clone, which makes it like, why am I going to buy an Xbox when I could just buy a computer? But then here's where I think is actually going to happen. I'm going to use that thought to pivot into my actual thought. But every year they kind of go heavier on the Xbox Game Pass, the PC Game Pass, as well as the console Game Pass and Game Pass Gold that you get both or whatever. Yeah. I think this is a play for that Game Pass. So I think they're going to compete with Steam in that regards, try to have a platform for it and like try to be the Netflix. And then I think they're going to utilize the console as like, oh, you don't have a PC? Like here, you can play all this stuff anywhere. We're the Netflix of gaming. That they've been saying that for years, but Microsoft has not been saying they're gonna, PCs are not it. It's weird because I think Microsoft been trying to find this way to compete with that, and like Game Pass is good with Steam. You're right, but Steam and Valve, but in that sort of way,
Valve's gonna win. Valve's gonna win. They already gonna win. They already beat people who have more money than Microsoft. Like it's like the thing, like. People bet against Steam for the last 10 years. Like it's very foolish to bet against Steam. I
don't think. Sorry, I agree with that, but I was just going to say I don't think Microsoft is trying to I think they're trying to chip away, and I think they're trying to find this pivot case where it's like, oh, you're a console player, but you can also
It's only for
pivot
Xbox
into-
people. It's only for Xbox people. Like, again, the PS5 is already like the PlayStation in general outsells Xbox year after year, every single fucking time. There is never a question that they're still doing PS3 sales right now. Like this shit's crazy.
But statistically, that's also about regions and markets. Sony sells across the world. Microsoft generally only sells in North America, maybe South America. They've failed in Europe. They've kind of failed elsewhere as well. But like they really haven't pushed a lot of other markets like Sony has.
Well, that's because of the way that they go about it, though. Like Microsoft in general is like they try to give you like this. They try to be the Apple of the gaming world. Like it's such an experience to be on the Xbox. Yeah, like bro, we have people who have Xboxes. Don't even start with me on this one. I don't even want to bring their names into this fucking thing. But I swear to God, every person that we know who plays on an Xbox is such a pompous ass when it comes to it. And yeah, I'll talk about you guys. Anyway, no, like it's literally Nick, like your Xbox people. What's up?
You've been a little bit of a scat man here, man, because I have an Xbox right now. I've predominantly had an Xbox, and I don't game too much on it anymore. It's become a Netflix machine, but that's where I feel like their angle is. But yeah.
I've known you had an Xbox. I broke your Xbox 360. No, but like, get the point that like, if you talk to a person who has PlayStation, you talk to a person who has Xbox, there's a completely different feel. Again, ran a GameStop. I know the difference between a PS person and an Xbox person. Like, just in general, bro. Like, it's different kind of person. It's more like literally more of like a community-based experience thing. For Xbox, they try to lead you into it.
That's where I would say Sony is more of the Apple. That's where I would say Sony is more of the Apple sort of in that, because they've got very meticulous branding and very meticulous ways they do. And it is sort of a cult of personality of like, you buy an Apple, you always buy an Apple. You don't switch into it. You don't switch out of it. And the same with like a PlayStation. And like, yeah, the console wars are sort of dead, but like we're seeing more of the PC war happen here. And it seems that Microsoft is aiming at I don't think they're aiming at Valve, but they're definitely trying to do something in that sort of space, and they're trying to carve out their own future for that. Otherwise, they're just a Netflix machine. They're just I'm going to stream on my TV.
They kind of are, and they've always like been that. But here's what I'll say. Let me get this together. So you want to let's go on the basis that they want to actually take away a little market share from Steam, right? So you decide that you're going to fuck with Nintendo. Nah, that's cool. So you're going to make a Switch. You're just going to make an Xbox version of the Switch, right? So you can't compete Nintendo in the console wars. So you make a handheld to try to compete with Steam on PC. That makes sense. Like outright.
I don't necessarily feel like it's that much of. I don't think they're thinking about it like it's a competition and market share. I think they're trying to carve out a space for Game Pass. I think this is all about Game Pass and their strategy for Game Pass. Game Pass is fantastic. The concept is awesome, right? But like, again, it's limited to only Xbox. And like they expanded to Microsoft and computers, but like Valve dominates that. So how do they carve something out? How do they sort of like that? And I think that's the angle here. This is all about Game Pass. This is not about taking away from Switch, maybe indirectly taking away from Steam and Valve, but this is predominantly about, this is why I want to see them do the Zune handheld Game Boy thing.
I mean, it'd be such a different shakeup. Right? So besides if you do have the Game Pass, right? That would be the only thing. You would have to only get every game and be able to play every game. But that's obviously not going to be the case. You're going to be able to buy games for this. The Game Pass is going to be a good portion of their revenue, just like it is with the Xbox, but it's not going to stop them from selling games, right? So like, I don't know, man. It just seems weird that because you're talking about trying to pull PC people. This is the reason why this failed in the first place. Like Xbox trying to get people to play Xbox games on an Xbox. That's why they started to port them over to the PC, because telling somebody that they had to buy an online membership to play their game on the console that they bought and the game that they bought was crazy. Like, so you couldn't get the PC gamer to do that because we don't pay for our internet. We pay for our internet once and then that's it. So like,
yeah, well,
it's a hard sell.
And right now they definitely bundled Xbox Live internet connection multiplayer thing, mostly like the features of that into the Game Pass stuff. But I don't think they're coming after the PC people. I don't think they're coming after the PC people playing on their PC. I think they're coming after the PC people playing on anywhere. They want to travel and they're trying to provide an experience through Game Pass that's probably a bit better than the Nintendo store. And like, you're going to buy the $60 Nintendo game for sure.
Nintendo store.
So like, I think that's that niche. It's all about Game Pass and that like the long-term plan here. And dude, it's such a treacherous area as well. Like you said, like if I'm a PC person, I'm going to play on PC. I'm staying there. If I'm a Sony person, I'm going to play on my console. And like, that's kind of it. Like,
well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like the PSP died, the PS Vita died, right? And they were able to bridge the gap probably a little bit better with the way that the games were. They were first player games. You could play on the go, RPGs. Persona 3 is one of the best Personas ever made, right? It's one of the highest rated games. And that wasn't enough to save the thing. So like, what I'm thinking is like, you want to get people playing PC games, right? But then like, what PC games are you playing on your Xbox handheld that you can't play on Steam? And if you were into handheld gaming in the first place, guess what? You own a Switch. And guess what? If you PC games, you bought a Steam Deck. So like, I don't know. It seems real weird. Like I would need to hear the pitch from them. Like, cause I read an article.
It's a shame that this article really, and this report has been bare bones at best. And they might be testing the waters, maybe generating some buzz in this early stage of things. But I had an idea or a thought here. What if they do steal that idea of the console being able to dock on your TV like Switch does, and then you can take it around and handheld, and then Game Pass allows you to take that save state from your console moving around onto your PC. So it does kind of like this jack of all trades thing, but then it has that like higher end niche down. Because I don't think the Steam Deck does HDMI in that way to a TV like that. It performs well, and it's a bit clunky for my taste. And I think that's just like first gen of this console, the Steam Deck expectation. So like, it's not unusual. It might get slimmed down and cleaned up and streamlined a bit more. But what if that's like their strategy here? Like that might be their route for success. It might be the only route for success, where they are a better Switch with a better game library that then converts into PC as well. Cause like that's a big minus in Switch, or even any other game. Like if I want to play mobile, I have a Switch already. I got to buy Skyrim again for $60. Let's go buy GTA, and it performs less well. Like that might be the thing they're going at.
Yeah. I mean, if they were going for, hey, can we sell another million copies of GTA 5 or another million copies of Skyrim? Like, sure, you can do it. The same people buy that game 8 to 10 times per lifetime. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like we saw 3 consoles now? There's been 3 consoles since both games came out.
Yeah.
That's fucking
I think
nuts.
GTA 5 is like 13 years old.
GTA 5 came out with the Xbox 360.
Yeah. I remember that part. Yeah.
Disgusting.
5 release.
Yeah.
It's wild that like
it was like probably 2013.
Yeah. September 2013. So the game is like 12 years old.
Gross.
And it's been on we're in the 3rd generation. So it's been on like 8 different consoles and 3 different generations. Crazy, dude. Absolutely wild. But I think that might be maybe what they're attacking, because like that's one of the good things about Game Pass. A little bit of a shill moment here. I'm not getting paid by them or whatever, but I do find that it's nice to be able to have the game there. And it's kind of like that Netflix where like, once it's gone for now. So unless you buy it, whatever, but like it is cool that that the game is there. I can go over to my PC. I can play Halo Infinite very buggily on my PC and then go over to my Xbox and then play it a little buggy over there. But yeah,
Windows Phone,
maybe that's the angle.
Zune both failed, and they were probably both of those items were amazing devices.
Yeah.
and they both failed horribly. So like, yeah, I
would argue
no hope on this.
I would argue that the Zune especially was because of poor marketing. They just didn't want to put their brand behind it that much, even though it was a great product. I don't know about the Microsoft phone though. Like maybe it's the same thing. They put all their thought. Yeah.
It was real good. It was like I could literally text while driving without looking at it. Like, that phone was crazy good, dude. Touchscreen phone too. That shit was nuts,
dude. I think that needs to be a disclaimer. You shouldn't be texting and driving there, Nick. But glad it went well.
I wasn't
you're
texting,
here, man. But
I was interacting with my phone and sending messages with my thumbs without. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps us up. Unless you had any sort of extra little topics that we can get mad about and riled up for as we send off here.
Nah, just at the end of the stream, there will be a survey. Will Nick sound like a bitch next week and be a little Krabby Patty? Or will he not be? There you go. Well, there you have it. Let's, put your bits in the comment section. Put your thoughts and opinions in the voting and the poll. Check out our social media at the Esports Meta and let us know if Nick's been too much of a bitch or he's not bitchy enough. And we'll go from there. We'll adjust accordingly. But I do appreciate you being here, Nick, and having the conversations about this stuff. I think it's a lot of really insightful things. Anything from the Overwatch dead game, League of Legends, kind of boring tournament stuff, into Race the World first, and then the Microsoft stuff. I think that might be one of the more interesting parts because we just talked about it. But it'd be cool to see how that goes. But thanks for joining me. Thanks for the conversation here. It was anything you want to say before and as we send off besides the survey? Quality assurance notes? Nah, I got nothing. I got nothing, dude. All right. I think there's nothing more really else to do. Thanks for watching. If you're still sticking around, we appreciate being here. You can check us out at our social medias. Like I said, we're here on Twitch and YouTube every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, Team Liquid has not killed as of the end of this podcast, is still at 1.9% as the best poll. They have not killed the second to last boss. We're in a tight race on there. Hopefully it'll last out till this Monday. We'll see how that goes, but that's kind of it for now. Thanks for joining us. This has been the Esports Meta, and we'll see you next time.